guys, it's Bastian time, and this was one of my thought processes for what I was going to be doing for Halloween when I was my other Link costume wasn't working out, and I hadn't yet decided on just being a generic cowboy. I thought, well, I've got the Wind Waker pajama shirt, and I've got pants that are kind of like the same color of pants that Link wears. I'll just wear that, but I was advised by some friends that it wasn't enough of a costume and just looked like how I usually look, so that's why I decided against this, but I figured, hey, I'll wear it for this episode in Zelda news. So anyways, let's get to that first story. So first of all, we learned something brand new about the very first Zelda game, and that's just mind-boggling to think that 25 years later, we're still learning facts about the very first Zelda game. And in a recent interview, Miyamoto was talking about the Triforce and how originally in the very first Zelda game, there was apparently supposed to be a past sort of medieval setting, which is of course what we got in the Zelda game, but also a future setting, and that Link was going to travel between these two settings, kind of like in various other Zelda games. There's the two worlds idea, and he was supposed to be collecting pieces of an item called the Triforce, but what it was supposed to be was this futuristic electronic device of computer chips. Each piece of the Triforce was a computer chip. So bizarre to think that Zelda could have been so sci-fi influenced right from the get-go. And in a way, it kind of makes sense that a lot of Zelda fans have been sort of desiring a futuristic sci-fi sort of Zelda adventure, and this kind of sets a precedent for it. But then, in the same breath, Miyamoto laughed about the idea that Zelda could have been futuristic, and because it obviously has never gone that route again. So, anyway, it's kind of interesting. Miyamoto had another interesting quote about Link, and Did You Know Gaming created another image about that. And that was that Link, he was actually, just like a lot of people have sort of hinted at, was visually inspired by Peter Pan. Miyamoto said that he was a huge fan of Disney's version of Peter Pan, and that when trying to create the character design for Link, very strongly used Disney's interpretation of Peter Pan for his character, and so that's just really interesting, because I mean, a lot of people in the fan community have said that they felt like Link was influenced by Peter Pan, and there have been many people who said no, of course not, but now we learned that in fact he was. And it's interesting that later on in the Zelda series, in one of the most beloved Zelda games, Link does acquire a fairy companion, just like Peter Pan's Tinkerbell, and then of course there are the Lost Boys and Peter Pan, who are this community of never aging children, and that's kind of like the Kokiri. So just interesting that there are a lot of similarities, and now there's actually some credence to those similarities, in that yes, Miyamoto definitely was thinking of Peter Pan. Speaking of Ocarina of Time, some sad news is that it has long held the record for the longest time of being the highest ranked video game of all time. For a while it was tied with another video game title, but now unfortunately that other video game title has surpassed it by 0.001%, and that game is Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is a great game, but better than Ocarina of Time? I don't know. So Ocarina of Time's rating is 97.63, Super Mario Galaxy 2's is 97.64. So again, the tiniest of percentage, but still significant in a way. And Ocarina of Time is still an amazing game, of course, no disputing that. Next up is a video which shows an HD version of the Wind Waker. Now, of course, this is not Nintendo produced. There's no such thing as an HD Wind Waker officially. What this is somebody using the Dolphin emulator, which is an emulator to play GameCube games, and they've used that to update the graphic output to official HD standard. And now they haven't retexturized the graphics or anything. It's not as if they've gone in and reworked the graphics from scratch or added any shaders or anything like that. Really, it's just how crisp it looks in HD, and it looks awesome. It looks breathtaking. I would never imagine that just updating to HD could create this much of a graphical difference, but it's fantastic. There are rumors out there that claim that Nintendo's plan for the Wii U is to include a virtual console for GameCube games, and that will then allow you to play them in HD, but it's just a rumor, and I actually don't think it's so likely, because way back Nintendo specifically said no. They would not be doing anything like that, so they could have changed their mind in the meantime. We'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening with the Virtual Console GameCube games. So that's it for this episode of Zelda News. Of course, then 2 days from now is the second Zelda News episode, so I'll see you then, guys. Bye!